Warsaw, Poland, the city which is widely seen as safe and welcoming for tourists and immigrants. And most of the time it is. But right across the Stula River, the atmosphere changes. This is Praga, the district with its own history, contradictions and scars. Today we'll tell you 3 real stories, different streets, different years, moments when normal life turned violent.
It starts in 1794, Poland on the brink of disappearing. This story is about Tadeusz Kościuszko, who led a last-ditch uprising to defend the country. Surrounded by Prussia, Austria and Russia, the country had already lost territory in 2 partitions. Tadeusz Kościuszko, a military hero who had fought for freedom in America, returned home to lead a national uprising. The goal was simple: to defend Poland's independence and rally the people.
Kościuszko was named the hero. City was full of hope. But hope does not last long against the emperors. Russian army returned, but this time they didn't march through Old Town. They came for Praga.
November 4th, 1794. Praga streets were full of civilians, families, workshops, wooden houses. Troops advanced along what's now is Targowa Street. Fire spread faster than people could run. Many were burned alive. The river carried the bodies of those who tried to flee.
By the nightfall, almost every street in Praga was destroyed. 20,000 civilians died in a single day. Warsaw was looking across the river, unable to help. Praga survived, but till this day, the streets are carrying the loss and fear of the previous days. Centuries later, Praga streets will witness blood again. This time, in 1943, in the middle of the German occupation of Warsaw.
Second World War. The Nazis carried out executions to punish civilians and scare the population. In Praga, hostages were shot in the streets. Men, women, sometimes even teenagers. Homes were searched, streets emptied as soldiers hunted for suspected resistant members. On November 12, 1943, at least 30 hostages were executed on the streets of Praga. Victims were ordinary civilians, not fighters, shot simply to bring fear to residents' existence. Some were buried in mass graves. Others disappeared, never to be found.
These executions were just a part of a wave of a huge terror sweeping across Warsaw. The roots of the stories we can still see in the streets of Praga today.
But have the echoes of the uprising, the war, and Praga's troubled past really sunk that deep? Today, they no longer come as battles or executions. They appear in ordinary life, touching ordinary people, making some hesitate with their very first steps into this place.
Violence in Praga is not just a history. Sometimes it erupts the everyday streets, homes where people feel safe. This case took place on November 1st and 2nd in the night on 2015, a brutal crime that shocked the whole neighborhood.
The victim was 26-year-old Paulina L, a young mother living with her 2 children, an 8-year-old daughter Olivia and a 14-month-old son Norbert. Praga, Stalowa 38. Later that night, 32-year-old Magdalena M, a friend and acquaintance, came to Paulina's apartment. According to court findings, a kitchen knife was used to inflict multiple cut wounds to Paulina's neck and throat. Paulina died from severe bleeding. After the killing, Magdalena left the apartment, but then returned shortly after. Investigators believe she set fire in a flat to hide the crime, pouring an accelerant in at least 2 spots and locking the doors behind her. The fire itself didn't spread widely, but it produced toxic smoke. Inside, the children, asleep in their room. A neighbor smelled smoke and called for help. Firefighters and police arrived and forced their way in. Witness who first entered the flat described the scene. The children lying motionless near the bed. The room thick with soot, and Paulina's body found nearby. Attempts to save him were unsuccessful.
Early police reports pointed at the financial dispute and a robbery. Paulina sometimes was selling goods at the Cmentarz Brodnowski and had in her apartment cash and phones.
Magdalena was also accused of taking 2 phones and gold rings after the killing, possibly to make the crime look like a burglary. In a court, the suspect at times claimed the killing was the result of the conflict, but not a planned murder. But experts noted that by starting the fire, she must have known that children could be harmed. Residents lit candles, brought toys, and held a silent march along Stalowa, Środkowa, 11 listopada, and Świecka streets, mourning the victims and demanding justice. In 2017, a Warsaw court sentenced Magdalena M. to life in prison, 25 years for killing the mother, and 2 life sentences for the death of children.
It was not a war crime, not occupiers, but it was private tragedy that left its mark on the whole neighborhood. From the massacre of 1794 to the Nazis' executions in 1943 and murder of a mother and her 2 kids in 2015, Praga has seen its share of tragedy.
Today, Praga is full of life, cafes, trams, and people going about their day. But behind this everyday bustle, the history of blood and violence is never far from the surface, reminding us that every street here has a story to tell.